Pam in my knitting group requested that I do a video showing how I purl. Of course, I didn't think I was doing anything unusual at all, but it made me think about it. First of all, I think what one wants is to have a pretty even stitch on both the purl and the knit. And for the most part, I think I get that. Of course, every now and then I'm watching TV or presidential debates or something like that. My attention gets a little bit wonky. But for the most part, I think I do get a fairly even stitch, or what they call rowing, I believe. Now, I didn't really think about this or purposely do this, but I think when I first started learning Continental, I learned to do something called a Norwegian purl, which was a lot of extra movements. And it wasn't until I took a class with Leslie Solomon, who taught a way of purling that was basically to bring your finger down so you see the top of your finger and pull off. Once again, it's insert. Your finger is facing, so the bottom of it is showing, and then you bring it over and down, and that helps you tension the thread. So that's how I learned to purl. And then I guess, like handwriting, when your signature just changes over time, my knitting changed over time. So I think what I'm doing is I am inserting the needle and holding the thread, but kind of bringing a little twist around here and down. So I'm getting some tension on there. When I knit, basically I'm doing the same thing with the thread at the same angle, just kind of coming over and picking that thread. So for the purl, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just picking the thread, but I'm kind of bringing this around. I'll just have to do this a little bit just to see what I'm doing. But it's a pretty smooth movement. I don't know how I started doing this. I think my hands just kind of figured it out. It's not necessarily the right way to knit. It's just something that evolved, I think became comfortable to me. And it's certainly a very fast way of going back and forth for something like this rib, where I'm making very little movement at all. Most of the movement, of course, is with the right needle inserting into the stitch. As Pam and my knitting group notice, I do stick the needle up a little bit further to grab this thread. And I'm not just sticking a little tiny bit down here and bringing this down. So I think my movement is a little bit more exaggerated than when I first learned. But it is pretty fast for me to just kind of grab that thread. So I don't know if that helps anybody. Pam was interested in me doing this so she could watch me a few times and try to do it on her own. But it's one of the many ways to kind of get past the issue of purling when knitting Continental. Hope it's of use.